This week, we've seen rebellions on the run, superheroic lineage, and a prison poetry reading. Let's dive right into what's on the pull list. To start things off, let's take a look at Absolute Batman Arc M Special number 1, written by Scott Snyder and Frank Thierry, with artwork by Josh Hickson. So, Arkham Asylum once stood as this institution to help those in need, right? To be a beacon of hope in this desolate world that is the Absolute Universe. But one man came in and kind of changed everything. So this was much better than I really ever anticipated. I'm not generally a fan of specials or annuals or things like that because they don't do much for me. But the Absolute Universe is kind of turning that idea on its head. It felt very much like a companion piece to the recent Absolute Batman issues that we've gotten, and it makes me kind of wonder why this couldn't have existed as a regular issue in that run. And I say that kind of as a compliment, right? Not a detriment, because the quality of this issue is very high. The narrative did a good job keeping me on my toes, too. It's kind of like apparent at the very jump of this issue that there is going to be a rug that gets pulled out from underneath you. The problem is that the issue puts you in a room full of rugs. So which one gets pulled? Well, that's up to the writers here, and that makes it really exciting for the reading experience here. So Arkham Special here does a lot to further the narrative and kind of like further develop this world that we're living in, particularly for Bruce Wayne and all his friends. I was really excited to read this one. All right, let's talk Absolute Superman number 15, written by Jason Aaron with artwork by Juan Ferreira. So, in the aftermath of the Battle of Smallville, Kal-El has found a newfound peace for himself, a place to call home, and maybe kind of like a definition of his purpose. Ferreira is joining the fray now. He kind of got pulled in with his buddy Jason Aaron from their TMNT days, and they must have had a pretty good experience working together here because now they get that next opportunity right here on Absolute Superman. And while it feels artistically different than what we got in TMNT, it's a real pleasure to view. I really love the painterly quality that Ferreira brings to the book. Aaron's approach on this series has been slower, right? I don't want to call it a slow burn necessarily, but it's been very methodical with its approach. And it's kind of been different than other Absolute books in that same way, but the quality is still very, very high. That's the one thing that kind of keeps all of these things together. It's nice seeing new seeds get planted within this issue too. There's this really great, I don't know, it's like a really great jumping on point for this series too, because it's a new team, right? It's Juan Ferreira and Jason Aaron working together now. Everything that's been built up now has kind of been put to the wayside. There's a lot of resolution here, but in that resolution, we also get some new things that are going to be coming down the pipeline, and we get inklings of what those things are within this single issue here. So, if you kind of lapse on Absolute Superman, maybe take this opportunity to jump back in. Next up, we have Batman number 5, written by Matt Fraction with artwork by Jorge Jimenez. So it's a date night for Bruce. Well, they say it's not a date night, but it kind of is a date night. And that date is none other than with Annika, the doctor that's working for Wayne Tech, looking for that permanent solution for crime. But that permanent solution for crime has put her in the crosshairs of everyone, including a new assassin that's in town that's out to take her out. Fraction is writing a light-hearted, joyful Batman book, and it's something that I didn't know that I wanted, and now that I have it, it's just such a pleasure to read. It feels like it's been a while since we've had the juxtaposition between Bruce and Batman. I feel like this has been a Batman heavy kind of series where Bruce was put to the wayside, and we get to spend a lot of time with Bruce here, and I really enjoy that. Jimenez is the star of the show, though. Like, there's no getting around that. This issue, while it is Bruce centric, it's action packed. We get car chases, we get rooftop ninja fights, all incredible stuff here, all really rendered wonderfully by Jorge Jimenez. He's had such a great run on this book. I can't wait to continue to see what he brings to the table each and every week. This issue was no different. All right, it's a Batman heavy week, so let's talk Batman Green Arrow The Question, Arcadia number 2, written and drawn by Gabriel Hardman. So Batman is questioning the nature of his current employer, right? This conglomerate that is trying to build this nation of floating worlds, right? In an effort to basically, I don't know, help billionaires. I mean, there's no other way getting around it. Green Arrow and the Question are there, though, to uncover what is truly behind these and how they're actually being constructed, what the means are to make that happen. It feels like in this issue, the plot is driving the characters rather than the characters are driving the plot, though. It feels like they're kind of set pieces that are being moved around as opposed to being making willful choices. It makes things feel a bit off, enough to make me say that I side-eyed some of the decisions here, and it felt like some of the characters were doing things that were out of character. The art really fits, though. That's the one thing I really enjoyed through this. Hardman is plotting out some really great action scenes that feel just full of kineticism, like captured like frame by frame here. There's one of them that really jumps out at me, where Green Arrow has basically laid a trap for some of these people that are coming after him, where he has some of his exploding arrows kind of just propped into the snow as they're landing right on top of them. Really fantastic stuff visually here. I need to see something different with the story, though. I think this issue might just be a down issue. Time will tell on that one. I'll still be around for issue number 3, though. We have the finale, so let's go ahead and talk about Conan, Scourge of the Serpent, number 4, written by Jim Zub with artwork by Ivan Gill. So, Lovecraftian horrors have taken hold over the timelines of Conan, Kull, and Kirawan, and they find themselves offered their heart's desired, basically, if they only join with Set, right, for this to make this unholy union. And this issue is interesting. It's less about our heroes as it is about Set and this cosmic entity known as the Woeful Eye. I have to compliment the subtle ways that this is tied into Conan proper right now. The Mad King Numidides believes he is in communion with this woeful eye in Conan proper, and now we get to see how close Conan was to following a similar path. Similarly to the Black Stone event, though, this was an ending, so it wasn't so much an ending really as a continuation of the greater evils that are presented in the Robert E. Howard world. That's what I kind of like about this. We have Savage Sword, where we get our one offs, we have Conan, where we get the continuing story of just our singular character. But it feels like these events now are stacking up and making a story unto themselves, where one kind of leads to the next, and we get this real great fleshing out of all of the Robert E. Howard properties. I think that's what Jim Zub's kind of strength is with this one. I had a really good time with it. Let me know what your thoughts were down in the comments. All right, let's talk Cyberarchy number 2, written by Matthew Hardy with artwork by Clark Bint. So, the people of Defi 10 live in harmony with the planet's life forms and the android beings that are there to maintain this symbiotic relationship. But when information is revealed that shows that that balance is tipped, nobody really knows who to trust. So, I didn't realize that this series was basically an anthology when we got issue number 1. I was expecting, kind of issue 1 to leading issue number 2, so on and so forth. But I have to say, while this has kind of been shown to be an anthology series, I equally enjoyed this issue as I did issue number 1. It establishes their threat. It really develops the characters, as much of a single issue it really is going to allow, at least, and it turns the table on you. It's a fun time. It's a good change of pace kind of book from your weekly reading. What I do like on this is that it kind of has that Twilight Zone-y aspect of it, where again, like it'll twist and shift, and what you think you're going to be delivered is something totally different than the next. The other part about it too is that there is definitely an overarching theme with the androids or the robots, whatever these robotic beings would call themselves, right? There is something going on with them, and I'm kind of curious to see if it's all going to tie in together as each issue is delivered now. We know that there's been specific things and callouts within these first 2 issues here. I'm excited to see what issue number 3 kind of gives us. Next up, we have DCKO Knightfight number 3, written by Joshua Williamson with artwork by Dan Mora. Whew, this is like Batman book number 4 of the week, right? And in this one, Batman bests the true nature of the Apocalypse Heart's test, right? And he's shown different future versions of the Wayne family. Jason Todd, who he had just finished up his kind of mission with, he has shown Tim Drake. Now he has Damian Wayne as well. So it's really cool. I feel like they're kind of like breaking down the family that is Batman, and it's kind of at least now starting to show the prowess of the character of Batman, that he's not just trying to punch his way through this battle. It's not the greatest Batman thing that I've ever seen, but what I've liked is that each issue has progressively kind of gotten better and better, and it's also brought the pace up each and every time. So like all of a sudden, boom, we're to the next, boom, we're to the next issue, boom, to the next issue. Like it's been really quick. It's been a really quick read. I'm excited to see how he's going to get back into the tournament now. It's all kind of building up towards that to see how he can still kind of be someone that can make a difference within the DC universe, trying to like harness that Omega energy. We'll see how that all plays out here. What I can say is, at the very least, while I didn't like issue number one, it's gotten progressively better. All right, let's talk FML number 7, written by Kelly Sue DeConnick with artwork by David Lopez. So we got family members in jail. We got kids tapping into supernatural murder sites. We have conventions that are basically for murderers, and there is poison laid astrew with like throughout the entire convention. This book is crazy. It is fun. It's smart. It's snappy, and it has great dialogue. But here's the thing: I struggle remembering what the heck is happening in this book. It has been really hit hard with multiple delays, and it feels like forever since we've gotten the last issue of this series. It took a little bit of research to get my bearings on what was happening, why the husband and child characters were in prison, who the actual murderer was that's been investigated over the last decades here by our mother character. It kind of took me out of it. So from the single issue experience, I have to say it was something that was a bit challenging, not narratively speaking, but just from kind of, catching up and trying to figure out what was actually going on here. But from a comic book standpoint, the dialogue is great, the narrative is great, the artwork looks beautiful, particularly when they kind of flip back and forth between the sketchy nature of like what is being sketched out by the children in a book, or just kind of like an artistic interpretation of an event to the real life events that are happening. I think that Lopez really brings a unique style and look to this book that is unlike anything else. So while I wouldn't necessarily recommend picking this up as a single issue, I gotta say, when the solicits drop for the trade paperback, I'm jumping on it, and I think you should too. All right, let's talk Ultimate Wolverine number 13, written by Chris Condon with artwork by Domenico Carboni. So we have Logan Legion, who is inhabiting this the body of a Sentinel, and Jean, and they're on the run now from their Russian antagonists. While we get to spend a little bit of time with Ilyana and her backstory, as it's kind of been revealed what has happened with her interactions with Limbo back in the day here within this Ultimate Universe. So we get an art change here, and it's mostly fine. I think it's incredibly serviceable, but that's about as far as I would go, when I talk about the artwork of this book. It is a step down from Capuccio and what we were normally used to getting here. But I have to say, Logan fighting a bear in any issue is going to be something that I'm always going to have fun with. There's something about that thing that happens when he fights a bear that's just like, yes, okay, Logan, get your claws ready, let's go to battle here. It's super fun, and we've seen it decade over decade at this point, and it still gets me excited. This issue didn't do a lot to push the narrative forward or to push any of the characters forward. We know that Logan has escaped. Jean is with him. Him and Legion are basically trying to make sure that they can keep her well, right? They need to find medicine because she's been hooked up with the Russians for so long that they need to kind of get her back into a level of personhood. And that's what this issue was all about, but it didn't necessarily do anything to push that forward. So we're coming to the end of Wolverine. I'm kind of curious to see how they want to wrap this up, because there's a lot of different avenues that they can take, and this issue didn't give any clarity about what road they're going to go on. And with my runner-up book of the week, let's talk The Twilight Zone number 3, written and drawn by James Stokoe. So in this issue, we have these two warring factions, and they're halted by the defending side as they send out someone to speak on their behalf, right? As he pleads with them to listen to what is their voice of God. So first things first, this might be the best looking book of the week. Hands down. Stokoe's art is just brimming with texture and energy, and it just like it refuses to like let your attention go. Your eyes are glued to each and every page. They all look glorious. This is a black and white issue and series, and I have to say this is probably the most effective use of that black and white, the lack of color, that I've seen in any issue so far. The story itself had it scratching my head for a little bit, right? Like I couldn't help but wonder, why is this a Twilight Zone story? But in classic fashion, we get to kind of somewhat maybe the halfway point, maybe a little bit further in, and boom, it twists itself on its head. It reveals what it is, and I have to say, It is poignant, it is very funny, and it really had me thinking about the nature of this entire issue and made me reconceptualize my experience with it full, like, full bore. I had such a great time with this. It was probably the most fun issue I read all week, and arguably, like I said, the best looking one. So, like, I can't really recommend Twilight Zone enough for you. Make sure you pick this up. And with my top comic of the week, let's talk Poison Ivy number 40, written by G. Willow Wilson with artwork by David Gianfelici. So Pamela returns to Gotham in an effort to negotiate a truce with her and Vandal Savage and try to, I don't know, garner a little bit of peace and find a way to get her home back. This feels like a moment of true character growth that G. Willow Wilson is offering for Pamela. A newly matured, responsible Poison Ivy is finally. Wait, no, scratch that. We're halfway through the issue now, and never mind, she is just planted a person to death. So, okay, you gotta give her credit though. Pamela tried in this issue to turn a new leaf, haha, pun intended. But of course, she needs to stay true to that character. I'm really digging the artwork here. I really enjoyed the artwork that we've gotten throughout this entirety of this series, which, by the way, bravo, kudos to you, DC, and the team behind this for getting to issue number 40, and hopefully a whole heck of a lot more, because this series is just a real treat here. But the artwork in this issue by Gianfelici, it feels organic and it feels dynamic, or more organic than I think we've gotten here. When you're dealing with a character like Poison Ivy and the plants that she sprouts here, it just makes it all more pleasurable to view. I really enjoyed the approach on this one. The other thing too is that we've had 4 previous Batman centric books this week, but I have to say, when it comes to taking the crown for Gotham, Poison Ivy is the one that walks away with it. It was absolutely incredible. Great narration, great characterization that we're seeing here, high emotions that are delivered on every single page. All of that stuff put together made this absolutely worthy for Top Comic of the Week. So that's what I've got for you this week, but I'm more curious. What did you read, and what were your thoughts? Do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe. Consider joining the memberships for early access to videos, and be part of the panel. Leave me a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you next week.